Do you think Taylor Swift, who apparently endorsed Kamala Harris just the other day, will have, I know. I'm not here to endorse Taylor Swift, trust me. Will this have an effect? What's the significance of this?
I don't know whether it will have an effect. I mean, supposedly some 350,000 people have rushed to some website to register to vote or to express interest in potentially doing that. But young people don't generally vote. And I don't think people who at this point in the election cycle had not registered to vote are not going to do it because of Taylor Swift. But let's set that to the side. Screw you, Taylor Swift. That's how I would like to begin. This woman has got she's a billionaire. I saw her amazing mansion in Rhode Island. I went to some hotel there, and there it is up on a cliff. You've never seen a more beautiful home. It's one of, 20? She's got so many gifts thanks to all of you. Thanks to your daughters, who you probably had to drag to her concerts, and you want to make your daughter happy, and so you didn't, and it's true whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. And how does she thank this nation? She turns around. Not only does she pick a side in a hotly contested presidential election, alienating at least half of her fan base, but she says the reason she's voting for Kamala Harris is because of Tim Walz's LGBTQ stance. Do you know what Tim Walz has done on the LGBTQ front? Let me tell you what's gonna happen, okay? Here's what's gonna happen. A little girl sitting in Wisconsin who's maybe on the spectrum, maybe has acne, maybe is a little heavy set, maybe feels upset because the parents are getting divorced, something like that, is going to find herself down a rabbit hole on Reddit. And her parents aren't gonna know because they're getting a divorce and they're not focused on her right now. And she's gonna spend hour after hour on that thing, and Reddit's gonna tell her she's actually a boy. And she's gonna get sucked into this gender cult. And she's gonna say, Mom and Dad, I want puberty blockers into cross-sex hormones, which will sterilize her and deprive her of all sexual pleasure for the rest of her life. And they're gonna say, no, you're a girl. And she's gonna say, but I want top surgery, this benign thing, this double mastectomy where I'll have tubes coming out of me and I'll never breastfeed a child. I want that too, because I'm a boy. And they're gonna say no. And she's gonna go to a judge in Minnesota, and because of Tim Walz, the court will take custody of her, use the Medicaid funds in Minnesota to provide her all of those things, chop off her breasts, sterilize her with the puberty blockers into the cross-sex hormones. And when this girl inevitably comes to the conclusion that she didn't want any of this, that it only added to her problems, which were the divorce and the acne and the puberty and not any trans issue, who is she gonna go to then? This is all because of Tim Walz. That's what Minnesota is doing right now to little girls and boys, taking custody away from the parents so that they can have these procedures without any loving parent there to help. And that's what Taylor Swift just endorsed for your children. So screw you, Taylor Swift.
That is, first of all, thank you for saying that. And pardon my ignorance, this is one of those topics that's so upsetting to me. I have too many children, I think. They can take custody?
Yeah, there's a law that Tim Walz signed that says the court can take jurisdiction, which in this instance means custody, over minor children who are not getting the gender-affirming care, which is a lie. There's only two sexes, gender's bullshit. There's men and there's women. One cannot become the other. And he signed a law saying that they can take jurisdiction over minor children who are not being affirmed by their children and get all of those procedures done outside of any connection. Your parents will have nothing to do with it. They won't have access to you.
That's so dark.
Yeah.
I have to say, you were describing how rich Taylor Swift is. Why isn't she happy?
Good question. I mean, listen, what is she, like 32? I don't know what she is. She's young. She's never had a relationship that works. She makes a lot of money off of writing about it. That could be part of the problem. Like, for the reasons you were just discussing. When you find true love, when you have somebody who loves you unconditionally, warts and all, that's everything. And she hasn't been able to find it. She's made a lot of money off of it. And I think she travels from city to city without the grounding that you have, that I have, that hopefully all of you have. And maybe she's feeling untethered. Maybe she's feeling empty and lost. And maybe she wants other people to make similar decisions in life as she has. because people feel validated when you do that. And I think that's why she's misleading these kids. She doesn't have the core that you should have before you ever advise somebody on electoral politics.
I totally agree.
Right?
I completely agree.
So it's a very dark day, and I feel like she betrayed all of the moms and dads who took their little girls there and fostered a relationship of fandom, not knowing that she would then turn around and try to trans your kid or bless the man who's doing it, whether he's the Minnesota governor or, God forbid, the vice president.
Boy, you just made such a deep point, almost offhandedly as you do, almost parenthetically, but that she doesn't have the grounding to be advising on a question like this. Like, would you buy real estate from a homeless person, or would you take investment advice from Bernie Madoff? Like, why would I ever take an important piece of life advice from someone whose life is a disaster?
Right. If she wants to tell me how to sing the song, I mean, okay, I guess I'll listen to that. But I think it was the comedian Andrew Schultz who said, we'd just be so much better off if people would just do the thing they're supposed to do, right? If the actor would just act and the singer would just sing and the basketball player would just play basketball. I don't want her life advice on anything, but what's so pernicious about this is that we've inadvertently, thankfully not yours truly, but most parents with tween girls have inadvertently fostered a relationship between this person and their daughters and allowed her to become a role model to them. And now she takes advantage of that by looking at these young girls saying, vote Harris Walls, because you can get an abortion at any age and at any term under them, because you can turn into a boy under them, because unlike what they said at the debate, you can try to abort your baby and it can be born on the table and we can just let it sit there without any medical care under Harris Walls. That is a thing, notwithstanding the fake fact check by ABC News. It's sick.
It's hard to see, though, Taylor Swift in isolation. I'm just guessing here, but if she's really in her early 30s and she's made $1 billion in the music business, I don't have a ton of her albums myself. I can't even assess her music, but she's the product of a system. Yeah. And she's got to some large extent be acting on behalf of that, on the American entertainment system, which is to some extent a propaganda system. Like, this is an indictment of a whole industry, kind of.
I mean, the problem with big movies and big, rock and roll or records or pop is a lot of people who are drawn to those industries are empty inside to begin with. And we saw a flash of this in a brilliant moment at the Oscars this year, where, to his credit, Robert Downey Jr. got up there and he won for Best Actor, I think, or supporting, one or the other, for Oppenheimer. And the very first thing he said was, I'd like to thank my terrible childhood, right? And some people are self-aware and they get through that, and the vast majority are not and do not. And so they go to these industries like becoming a pop singer or becoming a Hollywood actor because they're seeking fame and to fill a void. And they think that these artifices are going to do it. If I can just become rich, if the people will just love me, if people will give me a golden statue, somehow I'll feel validated, like I matter, like none of the bad stuff that happened to me is consequential. And what they inevitably find is it fills no voids. It only adds to their problems. All the emptiness is still there. This is what happened to Matthew Perry, among many, many others. And I think, I don't want to psychoanalyze Taylor Swift, but I don't think this level of fame is healthy for anyone. We've started to make her some sort of an idol, and that's sick on our part. I try to counter-program this with my kids all the time, saying she's a singer. She sings some good songs. That's it. She's not someone to look up to. And let this be a lesson to us all, that we don't foster that kind of a relationship with a stranger who's chosen to go into one of these very damaging industries, because then they've got your kid in the palm of their hand and they can use that power for evil.
That is so wise.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.